Welcome, you guys, to another episode of Money Mondays. As you guys are not seeing, I don't have Betzy here. It feels weird, but I'll give you a little, guys, more scoop on that. But welcome to Money Mondays, where we are focused on raising private capital. So whether you are a new investor or an experienced investor, or even looking to raise in private capital, understanding the art of private capital is very crucial in today's competitive landscape. Join us as we navigate the complex realm of attracting investors, building meaningful relationships that fuel your business growth. All right, welcome, guys. Man, this feels so weird, you guys. This is still the Kels and Betsy show. Guys, this is the first time ever that I am hosting Money Mondays without Betsy. And it feels so weird. But listen, they always say it's a first for everything, right? Today, we have a great guest that's on the podcast that's coming on. He's going to be spilling the beans on a bunch of different things. But before we do that, I just want to tap into our disclaimer, guys. You guys know that we always give our disclaimer. So the following information is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence. We do not provide financial, legal, or any professional advice. So even our guests, you guys, that are coming onto the podcast, right? They are just giving their opinion. We are giving our opinion on everything that we're doing. Also, feel free to jump in and ask questions, just as how we do. And for anyone who is new here, just remember that we are doing a segment, right? Hi, Kathleen. Man, I love you. You're always here showing up. What's up, girlfriend? Um, so for everyone, if you're new here, we're doing a new segment where we are bringing on newbies. If you consider yourself to be newbies, we're bringing you on the podcast, and these are just active persons who are always showing up. That way, they can ask us questions about raising private capital if they want to practice pitching. We're literally putting the newbie on the spot, and the newbie can interview us about everything that we're doing. I know you guys might always hear the term, "Can I pick your brain?" So this is going to be the opportunity for you guys to pick our brain. So we're bringing on newbies as well. And shout out to all our subscribers. Shout out to all our new subscribers. If you're new here, welcome and thanks for tuning in. You're going to learn a ton, and we're learning with you guys too. So without further ado, I want to bring a special guest to our show, talking about how he is using private capital, you guys, to grow his real estate business. And what I love about it too is that he returned that from his lending business to not lending, but from the money that he's raising, right? Returns that he gets, he also lends. So he can give you perspective from being a borrower, being a lender, growing his real estate business. So it's kind of good when you have someone who has been on both sides. It's like you get, they always say you can have your cake and eat it too. That's the best of both worlds. That's what we're gonna get today. So we're gonna jump in and invite our guest, Eddy Charger.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome.
Pull up. We got to do our thing real quick, right?
Man, I love it. What's going on?
Oh man, I am super excited to be here with you guys. It's been a long time coming since we first linked up. It was like, yo, we should jump on the podcast together. It's like, all right, perfect. Let's set the schedule up. And it wasn't y'all. It wasn't y'all. It was it was me for sure. I'll take the blame for that. But definitely glad. We're sad we're missing one half of the dynamic duo. But I'll be back. We'll be able to do it again and give more value to the people. But I am so excited to be here. I remember when you guys texted me, it was like, hey, what about the 30th? I was like, oh my gosh, it's open. Let's take it right now. Let's do it right now.
It's crazy because we've been trying to get you on he been said, okay, he's good to go on the podcast, but the times are always clashing. But we always say that whenever this happens with our guests, it just wasn't the right time. It will happen.
Yeah.
but it just wasn't the right time. So today is the right time.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Listen, it's Money Mondays, right? There's no better time. There's no better place that you can be than right here, right now, live, learning how to be able to
Go ahead.
see where the money's at, right? And figure out how to be able to utilize the money. And that's one of the things that, we've been blessed to have been able to not only learn
Yeah.
from, our mentors and just resources and things like that, but through actually doing it and
Hmm.
having heartaches and learning the hard way. And I can tell
Yeah.
you a bunch more of those stories than I can tell you the wins, right? And maybe that's why we're doing well now. So
Yeah.
good
No,
good
it's
to be
insane.
here.
No, it's pretty good for. So I know, like we're just gonna dive in, and for guys, you all know that if you have questions or anything that you want to ask Eddy, just drop them in the chat. We'll bring them up on the screen. But what before I want to dive into is before we even get into what you're doing, and you actually just mentioned a valid point. I actually want to touch on that too. But tell us a little bit about who's Eddy Charger for who's not in sub two. What got Eddy Charger into doing real estate investing?
Yeah. So first of all, shout out to all my sub two fam out there. Nothing but love for sub two. I mean, I'm in a bunch of different groups, but sub two is legit my heart.
Mhm.
And then obviously, what I mean, I've made a bunch of relationships outside of sub two with Jamil and TTP, Brent Daniels, and those people. But definitely sub two is the fam, right? That's just like it is what it is there. But sub two is kind of like the last part of what I needed to catapult my career in real estate. When I
Yeah.
first got started, it wasn't even in real estate, believe it or not. I actually went to school, even though I had a very entrepreneurial mind. My parents always thought I'd be in business and etc. I actually got started in pharmacy. I actually went to Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I was the youngest student there coming out of high school to be in their pharmacy department.
Wow.
And I went there pre-farm, which means my first year I took way more classes than I knew what to do. What to
So wait,
do.
you were like the nerd.
I was big time nerd. I'm still a nerd.
Oh,
I'm still a nerd. I just look cool. You know what I'm saying? That's all it really is. I just look cool.
I love it.
But that's where I started. And what got me into business, I would say, was I was working in the pharmacy department, and I remember so in Temple, the
Mhm.
pharmacy department is actually right inside the hospital. So it's
Yeah.
really convenient, right? Because you can just come down from seeing your doctor, go to the pharmacy department, and then go home. Well, I remember this particular patient was an older lady. She could have been like my grandma,
Mhm.
and she just went through her first round of chemo.
Yeah.
And so she comes in and she's like, hey, I came to pick up my meds. I'm ready to go home. She's been there for quite some time. You can imagine what it may feel like for her at this point. And I take the script, run everything, do everything I'm supposed to. And then by the time I get done filling out the medication for her, I get a reply back that says she's been denied. The insurance will not cover it.
Wow.
And so now I'm like, okay, I'm the one that have to go tell this 80, 90-year-old woman that she can't get the medication that's supposed to ease her into this difficult time that she's about to go into,
Mhm.
right? And so I remember going back to my manager, who was the owner at the time, really good dude. And I'm like, hey, man, listen, I know there's loopholes. Okay. I was trying to be creative,
Yeah.
right? I was like,
Yeah.
what can we do so that we can can we just give her one or two pills or whatever? And he was like, he basically told me no. And he was like, there's just so much red tape involved. Like, even if you wanted to, out the kindness of your heart,
Yeah.
you can't, right? It becomes a legal issue. And I was like, well, this is stupid. Like, I got involved in this industry because I wanted to help people.
Mhm.
And when I realized it was just a business, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird because I guess I was trying to run away from business, and I ended up getting pushed right back into business. And so from there, I jumped into right back where I left off. I started doing entrepreneurial businesses myself, my cousin. We had a couple of successful businesses, got back into network marketing. And then from network marketing, made some money, did pretty well. And I was like, okay, what do
What do
rich
you
people do with money, right? Like this, when you get to that stage, you're like, okay,
what
what are we
do
doing, right? What do
yeah.
rich people do with money? And I knew of only two things from all of my readings and stuff like that. I knew two things: they either invest in the stock market or they buy real
Mhm.
estate.
Yeah.
I was like, I just moved at this point. I just moved to Atlanta, and
Hmm.
I'm just like, all right, well, let me dibble into the stock market, right? And so I actually teach myself how to trade stocks. I started learning with options, and I killed it, Kels. When I tell you, you couldn't tell me
I
like
mean,
I.
nothing.
Oh my gosh, I was self-proclaimed golden child of the stocks, girl. I was running it up, right?
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, oh yeah, no, I get this. I totally understand why it's supposed to be this way. I get it, and
Mhm.
etc. And I was killing it for months. And then something happened and I was losing for months. And I was like, I don't think this
This is
is
for
how I
me.
wanna invest my money, right? Like this. Let me pull back for a second. And
You're like, no, no.
right. So here's first important lesson, right? Because I think all we're going to be doing, Kels, going back and forth, is just giving lessons to
Hmm.
the people that are listening. First
Yeah.
important lesson that I learned at that point as an investor is you always want to invest with money that you can stand to lose.
Hmm.
And I think
Ooh.
a lot of times, even when I'm talking to lenders now, like they see the prize, they see the opportunity, and etc., but they don't really understand their level of risk tolerance.
Yeah.
And everybody has a separate level, right? So we can dive into that a little bit later. But at that point, I understood, okay, let's create a fund that I'll just set aside that would be just for investing in the stock market.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if I win or lose or not, right? So I was like, okay, well, what should we do now? So I was like, well, let's go the other way. Let's go into real
Hmm.
estate. And like everybody else, I start where all people start. You,
Wholesaling.
yep. I went on YouTube, typed in investing, and I found a guy by the name of Max Maxwell.
Oh,
And this was around the time where Max, like, no, there was nobody around at this point. There was
yeah.
no, excuse me, there was no Pace, there was no Jamils, there was like nobody was really doing it. Max was the first person to do it, and at this point, he just dropped a video. When I tell you timing is everything, he just dropped a video where he was showing like how to run a six-figure wholesaling company
From business.
and the different positions and all that sort of stuff. So I got in there, and then I think I want to say like a few months later, he had his first event in North Carolina. So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to North Carolina, and I take off. And I go to North Carolina. I've never been to North Carolina before. This is actually the first time I've ever been on a business trip by myself. Typically, I'm with my team or, all the other
Yeah.
things that I've done. It's always been a us type of thing.
Yeah.
So I go to this event and it was life changing because I was able to meet and connect with so many different people, which argumentally, one of the individuals that I met
Hmm.
turned out to be my business partner. And then from there on, the rest is history, as they say. Like we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Man, so it's crazy that you said so wholesaling, and then from wholesaling, what got you to the point when we're like, okay, I need private money? How did private money get into that picture?
Yeah, great question. So private money became a realization for me when we started doing other things. So we got into fix and flips, and we were borrowing money from people. A bunch of lessons there we can talk about, but then also we started going into other avenues of real estate. So I was doing multifamily. I had a multifamily team. We were doing the whole process, finding the deals and all that sort of stuff. And then I have some other good mentors that I keep myself around. So, for example, Abraham Gray, who's in
Yeah.
real estate, but he's actually a genius at buying businesses. And so I started learning that side. So if you look at it, I had a investment company division,
Hmm.
which was our wholesaling company. We had a
Yeah.
multifamily, we had a business buying, and I had a team in all of those things. But the number one common denominator in all of them was money.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter what, like you can find a deal high and low, and that's the other thing that I learned, that opportunity
Hmm.
is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we literally live in an abundant world, in an abundant society.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the media and all this other stuff make you feel differently. But
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, you can literally walk outside. You can literally get on the internet, get on your phone, get on a Facebook group, and you can find an opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, we've never really had a time in the existence of human beings
Yeah.
like we do now,
And
right?
I think that sometimes too, like we overthink it a ton, especially when it comes on to money.
Yes.
Because persons would think, okay, private money, you get technical because it's real estate. When you're buying a business and you need private money too. So
Yep.
it all comes down to, it always comes down to the deal. How much money is it making? What are the expenses? What is your cash and cash return? Like, I think a lot of persons, especially newbies, they're gonna overthink it. But the more you guys get into the business, you realize it's the common factors that everyone asks.
Yep.
What is my return on investment? I don't care what the asset is, but if I give you $100,000, what is my return? That's it.
That's
And
it.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. So even with all of that, you didn't have an investing background?
No, not at all. I
Nothing.
was on the other side of the table, right? Like, I was borrowing money to do this. I didn't have any experience in that world. But the one thing that I realized is that if you have access to the money, or if you end up having the money, there's not a room that you can't be part of.
Yeah.
Like,
How did you know that you had access to the money? At what point did you realize that you had that access, and how did you ask for it?
yeah. So you gotta look at it like this. And this is so funny because my son is 9 and he's at the
Yeah.
age where we're starting to teach him like these principles. Because he's like, hey, look, I want to get this new game. I'm like, well, how are you gonna get it? Like, what are you gonna do? Right. So we're teaching them these principles now. And one of the things that we talked about was like, okay, you have to understand what's in it for. I know we've always heard this before, like, what's in it for them, right? But the thing that we got really good at, Kels, was that we got good at identifying a good deal. We got good at value. If you look at any part of this, there's really 3 parts. There's the value in the opportunity, right? And then there's the execution, and then there's the money.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I didn't have the money. I didn't have access to the money. But what I did was I went and I got better at finding these good deals and learning how to execute on these good deals. So now when I find somebody who has money,
The money. Yep.
I'm bringing in so much value to that person that even though I really need the money, right? And in fact, I'll change my language on that. Even though I really want the money, they really need me.
Facts.
And that's the part I think people don't, like, what I'm saying? Like, people think like, oh, I need the money, so I didn't. No. If you learn what you bring to the table as value to these, because here's the other thing. Who is your typical lender? There are people who have capital that is just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything. And that's a problem, right? Maybe in your world, whoever you are looking at this right now or listening to this, you might be at the point where you're like, that doesn't make sense, right? If I had money, if I had $1 million in the bank, that is not a problem that I'm going to have. I promise you, when you get to that level, things start to shift. And now you used to be like, man, where are we going to get money from to do X, Y, and Z? And now you're like, man, where are we going to spend this money so that we can keep more of it?
Yes.
So they have a big problem on their hands.
Yeah.
And they need someone who has the skill, the know-how, the connection / the resources to be able to solve that problem. They would pay handsomely or beautifully, whichever one that you choose, right? To be able to find someone who can bring value like that. And that's when I figured that out, I realized the game will never be the same for me.
But you even I think just listening to you, you hear too when you find someone who has, let's say, $50,000, or if they're looking to sell their house, and you're like, "What are you gonna do with your house?" You're like, "I don't know. I was thinking about real estate, but I don't." It's always I don't know, because again, they really don't know. And as you said, you're bringing something to the table. You're bringing the knowledge. You're bringing the expertise. So to find that person who you guys can click to be like, hey, I have the time, I have the expertise, you have the money, let's partner together. Because when I got into raising capital, I learned that you are not asking for money. You are providing an opportunity. And as soon as I like switch my mindset about that, everything now is different. I'm not begging anyone for their money.
Yeah. It's crazy now, right? Because now we'll put out an opportunity for somebody to lend on, and we're like, hey, listen, we're not doing any favors here or nothing like that. We want to make it equal for everybody. So it's first come, first serve basis.
Yeah.
And you find people are like, look, I'll pay you more, right? Like it's weird. Like 5 years ago, I was like, man, this is a great deal. I wish I had the money, I would buy it.
Yeah.
Right. And not knowing that the opportunity is right there. And the other thing that's crazy is the opportunity is like literally right there. Like your neighbor is probably sitting on 50,000, but you two chicken. Do we need to have church, right? Like you two chicken to go ahead and have the proper conversations, or maybe you're not. Maybe your problem is you don't know how. But I mean, again, I said it in the beginning, we live in a world where information is readily available. Like podcasts like this, right? The Money Mondays, like 5 years ago, this wasn't available.
No.
You know what I mean? Forget the like, you can pay extra to have set, you can pay, or you can hit the link for a one-on-one. Forget all of those. Let's just talk about just the game that's being given on podcasts like this. 5 years ago was not available.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is too, and I've just heard this based on when persons reach out to me, they're like, all right, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books. Here's one of their biggest obstacles. And I want you, this is very last minute that we're going to do on the spot. And they're always like, I don't know what to say. Or they want to use a technical term. Hey, you want to be a private money lender, bro? And for they get so technical with pitching. So I would like us to role play a little bit. So
yes, that'd be perfect. So let I'm on the spot.
To me, we're doing this on the spot, you guys. So I'm your neighbor.
Okay, and we're just gonna have a conversation.
We're just gonna have a conversation.
So let me give a few disclaimers first. The first thing is, guys and girls, please stop trying to sound professional. You sound stupid. Yeah. That's really what it is. You sound stupid, not because of your intelligence, but because you're taking literally the long way to go about doing something, which doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. I was talking to one of my teammates, and she was like, hey, I want to change how I talk because I feel like I'm saying too much. And I'm like, please don't, because you sound like a normal human being when you say
yes.
Right? Let me tell you what happens when you sound professional. People don't trust you.
Yeah.
There is a difference between sounding too professional and sounding like an expert.
Yeah.
What you want is to sound like an expert. You don't want to sound professional, because at the end of the presentation or the conversation or what may have you, what's going to play in that person's mind was, man, that was really good. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Oh.
And now you're never going to get that person, because they are looking for the fault in you because everything was too perfect.
Exactly. But even the I do that a lot. And I always tell people, like, I sometimes intentionally do that if I'm trying to figure out how to navigate the conversation.
Yeah.
If I still haven't found a common ground, I intentionally be like, all the time.
What's crazy, I intentionally put it there even if I don't need it. I just throw it in there. Just like, I don't want to come off, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to come off regular. Yeah. But when it's time for me to shine in my expertise, you're going to hear it, right? Yeah. So I want that disclaimer to be here first. Now, second is, right now we're going to role play, and it's going to be like, she's my neighbor.
Yeah.
My conversation with my neighbor is not the same conversation I would have with the person that's standing behind me at the grocery store.
Exactly.
Right? So it's not a one-size-fits-all conversation. You have to understand that there's stages. I think that's the best way to look at it. There's stages that you need to be able to have. at the end of the day, no one's going to lend money to you or do business with you if they don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So what you first have to do is learn how to establish trust. And the easiest thing to do is to just get them to like you.
That's it.
That's it. That's
Not
the
to close
first
them.
thing. Not to
Don't even
close them.
not to close them.
It's not. Listen,
No.
it's not. Like even as and we're gonna role play right now. Even as her being my neighbor, I'm not gonna try to close her.
Yeah.
Because again, it's gonna come off too pushy or too salesy or too professional, and therefore, what's wrong with
Well,
this?
it's too fake.
Right? So let's say here we're walking our dogs. Do you have a dog?
Oh no way. No. I was
You
gonna say
don't.
something, but I was like, not a pet person.
So literally, my dog is like right here, right now. He's literally. Let me show you guys what's going on. So this is my dog. So this is the dog that I'm walking, right? And he's not the same dog in this picture. This is an alpaca in the picture. But I'm walking my dog now. I'm not going to recommend getting a dog in order to start a conversation. But listen, that might work if the person that you're trying to, go rent a dog from the SPCA, walk them in the same dog park that you're going to find the people that you're looking for. I know people that go to a particular gym instead of the regular gym because they know at this particular gym there's a certain caliber of people that they want to have those conversations with. So be strategic in who and where you're having these conversations. But I'm walking my dog. I see Kay, and I'm like, "Hey, girl, what's going on?
What's up? What's up? How you doing today?"
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day. I can't complain. I heard it's supposed to be cold in a couple of days, so I'm trying to soak up as much sun as I can.
Man, join the club. I'm here wishing that I could be on vacation right now, sipping a pina colada, but I can't. I'm stuck right here.
You're making me jealous. Where would you go? Let's see, because maybe we can plan something together. Where would you go?
I would go to the Caribbean right now.
Absolutely.
I would go to the Caribbean, but I'm like, you know what? I need some money first. I don't want to touch my money. I need some money first. Maybe go on a nice vacation.
Nice. When's the last time you've been?
Years, maybe a while now. Yeah, every time I said I'm gonna go take a vacation, something always pops up, and I just never go.
Yeah, my mom actually just came back from the Caribbean like 2-3 months ago, and you don't understand. It took everything to get her to come back. She almost did not come. She almost didn't come back. I was so jealous.
I want to be her. I want to be her.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. Like America got too. You know what it is? It's so fast paced. It's like you almost never get a chance to like take a break.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It just
it's too much too. Because then with my work, I work all these hours, and then
you still working the same job?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they won't even give me a time off. If I take a time off 2 weeks, I just want to relax.
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, that's because you run the whole thing, right? Like, aren't they going to change the company name to your name soon? Like, when's that happening?
Man, I don't know when that's happening, but I would like to happen it soon. So, because I need some money, But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Hold on a second. My dog is doing something. What is he doing? Come here. All right. So listen, I gotta go because I didn't bring any of these pieces. The toilet papers with me to pick up dog stuff. So I'm gonna run in the house and grab it real quick. Are you staying out here or what are you doing?
No, I'll be here.
You'll be here? Okay. You know what? I have a friend of mine who is doing some real estate stuff. I've done some stuff with him before. And we've kind of been going back and forth on like investing. And like I'll tell you in the beginning, I was like, no, I don't know nothing about it or anything like that. But the more and more I've been like listening to him, watching some of the things that he's done. I even started investing a little bit of my money. Just, you got to test these type of things out.
Yeah.
It's actually been pretty decent. Now, I don't know much of anything to be able to tell you, but I would tell you that's probably something you should do, right? You should find somebody that you can, relate to or you can trust that is doing real estate or something like that.
So I don't know anyone, and I see it all over the internet, and I think that there's so much things happening and scammers. It's like I don't know where to start or who to trust.
That's why it took me so long to invest in anything because I was like, I'm sending my money over to somebody that I've never met face to face. It's just I work too hard for my money. You know what I mean? Like
It's
I'm
tough.
not doing that.
It's too
You
tough.
don't know anybody that is like investing or anything?
No, like I think if I should ever do something like that, I would rather do it with someone that I know,
Yeah,
or try to figure it out myself because I'm working so much. I don't even have the time.
I get you. I get you. Um, well, I can't make any promises because I know this guy's like super busy all the time, and he only takes small clients that he
Yeah.
knows and trusts. But I'll just tell him like you're my neighbor and see if he at least talk to you for 10 minutes. Maybe he can point you in the right direction or to somebody.
No, that would be very helpful. I would appreciate that a ton.
Okay. All right. Let me run grab these toilet papers. When I come back, if I don't see you, I'll just like drop my information for you in your mailbox.
No, sounds good. Thank you. It's good seeing you.
Okay, you too. See you, girl.
Boom.
There it is. There it is. It don't get no better than that.
Guys, let us know what you think about that. Like he wasn't trying to close me. And let me know what was the takeaway before I say anything. The main thing that he did in that role play. So let me know in the chat. If you're driving, I totally understand, but I know there are persons on here.
No, if you're driving, just do it while you're driving. Be dangerous.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go for it.
Listen, because I know you guys are here. You guys are on YouTube. You guys are also on our personal Facebook as well. So drop it in the chat. Let us know what you guys think. But before I even like we touch on that part, that is to show you guys how simple it is, and we are really overthinking things.
Yeah,
A
I saw
lot.
Catherine said that. Kathleen said that she's
Oh,
an
she
overthinker
said
for sure.
overthinker. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like just tap in and just give it. It's like just answering when persons ask you, "Hey, what have you been up to?"
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta be strategic with how you put that response. Man, I've been learning about real estate. I've been watching some videos. I've been doing this course. What's going on with you? Blah blah blah. You tap in.
Yeah.
You share whatever it is that you're doing, even if you haven't even done your first deal as yet. But at
Yeah.
least share what you're doing to get there too. I think they're
Yeah.
all being shy to
So
drop it.
it's all about like the I think one of the things that most people need to get is like what's the pretense of the relationship?
Yeah.
Like in that role play, you're my neighbor.
Yeah.
So if I would have came out and I'm just like, oh yeah, girl, I'm doing this, that, and the third, and I got all these returns, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if you're doing so good, why you still live next to me, right? Like I saw you working on your car last Sunday. Like what do you mean you're doing so? Why didn't you get the car fixed? So
Exactly.
you can't do that, right?
Mhm.
Even if you are being successful, you got to understand she's not going to trust it yet
Yeah.
because it's me, because we have a prior relationship, which is why I use a third party story. I told her
Mhm.
about a friend of mine that's doing it and that's teaching me and et cetera, right?
That's it.
Another key thing is, and you touched it, like I wasn't trying to close you. In fact, you said you need money, you said all these things, and all I kept doing was going back to, well, what would you do
Yeah.
if you had the money? How where would you go?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And then I started finding out about your occupation, and
That's
I
it.
said, wow, you've been there forever. They're gonna change it. I'm bringing it back. I'm doing everything other than what you would have done, right?
Yeah.
The person that is new is just like, oh, well, you should you should do this. Here's my number. Let's boom, boom, boom. It's
The
too
brain.
aggressive,
Yeah.
right?
And you because you're planting the seed. That's what he was doing, guys. He was planting the seed. So
Yep.
what will happen now is and I know before we divert into the lessons and things, what he did with planting the seeds, you know what's going to happen now? I may be walking or I'm on the internet and I start seeing real estate investing things. I start seeing those things. I start hearing about it. And guess who I'm going to go to for advice or questions? I'm going back to my neighbor because he's the only one I have more trust with him. So I'm going to go to him and start asking him questions. And that way we're going to start building rapport, start building that relationship. So eventually at some point, it may not happen. I may end up lending to him.
Yeah.
But
If you're doing wholesaling or any
Mhm.
sales, right? Like I do a lot of sales training for my team and stuff like that. And one of the things that I talk about is the dance. Like we're Caribbean, so we're very big on dancing, very big on, body movement. And if you take, let's just take like the salsa, I think is a great example because I think a lot of people can kind of get a or understanding of what Betzy get an understanding of what that could look like, or maybe even the tango, right?
Yeah.
When you look at that dance, that dance is a core example of how your interaction should be when
Mm-hmm.
you are pitching something.
Yeah.
If you look at the dance, the whole entire dance is not aggressive movement, right? There are moments where there's aggressive, quick swing, quick turnaround, pull in, pull out. But there are also other times where it's like a slower pace, more of a like a romantic
Yeah.
type of energy that's behind it,
Yeah.
right? It's very similar when you're talking. Like when I'm speaking to somebody that could be a potential lender, I'm not trying to be aggressive the whole
Mm-hmm.
entire conversation as far as like, hey, we should do this and we should do that. And then, like, no, like I
Yeah.
want to be able to be aggressive in the points where it makes sense, but I'm more relaxed and lean back and letting them lead than I am because
Yeah.
I need them to want me. Because, like we said,
It's an
I
opportunity.
I'm bringing the value.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
money isn't the value because there's so many people with money. The
Facts.
money is not the value. I'm bringing the value. I have the deal and I have the expertise. I have the resources, right? So where I want your money, you need me. And
Yeah.
that's
With
the
the deal.
same dance dynamic that you want to have when you're talking to somebody about your opportunities.
No, man, this was good. It was super last minute, but this was good. So what I'm very curious about, because we know that you are using private money to
Yeah.
grow your business, right? So
Mhm.
when you use that private money, how are you using the returns to invest? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you
So
reinvesting back in the business, or tell us about that?
So for me, it's very important to reinvest everything, right?
Mhm.
One of the guys, I actually have his picture frame here, totally different genre,
Yeah.
but he's in content producing. And one of the things he talked about was like in the beginning, everything that they made, they reinvested back into the business,
Hmm.
right? And that was a common thread that I saw throughout like a bunch of uber successful entrepreneurs. It
Yeah.
was just like invest back, invest back. And in the beginning, I quite didn't understand that when I was wholesaling. When I was wholesaling, it was like, oh, I just made this 10K check. We gone for the weekend, y'all. Like we out, right? It was this the whole time. It
Yeah.
was like, who you need something? Here you go, take it, right?
There. That's it.
But I understand that, if you're trying to grow, you have to pour back into what it is that you're growing. So
Mhm.
take the example of being a farmer, right? If a farmer is planting seeds and his first batch of crops are starting to show, like the seedlings are starting to show, well, he doesn't pull those up and be like, all right, let's enjoy dinner,
You
right?
keep
He pours
watering.
more water into it. He gives it more sunlight. At some points, he takes it out of one pot and put it into a bigger pot for it to grow.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. So that's exactly what I've been doing. We take investments that we have from our private money lenders,
Hmm.
we put them back into bigger deals. What I've been doing a lot more recently, because I'm always trying to find ways to give more value.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing recently is we've been taking those profits and then I've been going back to that private money lender and saying, hey, listen, here's another opportunity. Instead of lending on it, you should become a partner.
Ooh.
How about I take some of my proceeds from the last deal that you and I did? You
Hmm.
come in and you become a partner on the deal. And now, not only do you have the ability to still lend on the deal, but you
Yeah.
also have now equity in the
Equity.
deal, right?
Ooh.
You get a
Yeah.
larger amount of cash flows. I mean, majority of the people that are looking to lend are people that are working W-2 jobs that don't have time
Hmm.
or education or experience to do
Yeah.
what you can do.
Yeah.
So this is a great way for them to be able to make extra income that they're not going to be able to make on the stock market. They definitely not making it in the bank, right?
Nope.
This is that opportunity that allows them to be able to invest in a safe back product that not only now they can invest in and make money, but now they have ownership. And
of everything.
that, is amazing.
So I'm very curious too. So you talk about when you make the profit, you reinvest. Do
Mhm.
you do, because everyone does a little bit of everything just to generate more income, such as like doing funding for EMDs, funding for gap funding? Do you tap into that as well?
Yeah. So now with the lending company and how we do things, like we have it from A to Z. So
Yeah.
we are lending on everything from EMD all the way up to business funding. And we've even added, so we have that on a private money side, but then
Mhm.
we also built relationships that we now have that we can lend on some of the traditional side. So, for example, one of the things that I have going on right now is called the Charger Project,
Yeah.
which essentially is helping people to be able to acquire properties as rentals and that are cash flowing. And the goal is to be able to have 10K cash flow. And that's net, by the way. And
Ooh.
that's important because being able to have that amount of money is not going to change all your generations, but it will at least impact two,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because this is 10,000 that you're making on top of what you already make. Like, I'm not saying, oh, quit your job and then come work. No, no, no. We're talking about 10K on top of what you're currently making.
Yep.
Even if you failed 50% of that and you're only bringing in 5,000, like the average person that's listening to this now, if you had 5K that was coming in every month, this is after you paid the property, this is after you paid property management, this is like there's no expenses, this is 5K net coming to you. You tell me how that would change your life over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
It'd
See,
be a
open up
great,
bank
great
account.
impact. And so
Very
absolutely,
good.
absolutely, it changes everything. Changes
It
everything.
really does.
So
But
this is what we're doing with some of the people that are coming on board, and so we offer lending for that too. We have DSCR loans that we're able to help them be able to qualify for and get those. I'm really heavy on the lending space now because of that one thing that we talked about.
yeah,
I understand now if I have money or I have access to the money,
the
even
deals.
if I'm not in the room, somebody will call me and say, "Hey, listen, this is a great deal. You should probably take a look at it."
Oh yeah. The opportunities will come. The deals will come.
The deals will come.
'Cause everyone's gonna need money.
They're
And
gonna need
everyone
it.
always needs money.
Yep.
It's crazy with you like raising um first of all, before I go into the lessons, because that's what I'm so curious about, because you mentioned earlier in the of the episode that you made some mistakes.
Oh gosh. Yes.
but,
Tons.
but before we even tap it, I have one question for you. To this date, if you're keeping track, how much money in private capital have you raised?
I can actually tell you because I have that in my spreadsheet.
Oh
So
damn, he
if
keeps track,
you
guys.
if you give me a second,
He keeps
I'll tell you
track,
the answer to
guys.
that.
And guys, while Eddie looks for pull up his Excel sheet, just remember, if you have any questions that you want to ask Eddie, feel free to drop them in the chat. Let us know what questions you have. I know this is for some persons, they always reach out after the episode and they'll be like, this was really good. I learned a lot. But yes, you can be on and listening, but you need to ask questions as well, because the questions are coming to you. I know that. But a
Hmm.
lot of persons are shy or too afraid to ask those questions. So feel free to drop those in the chat with any questions you have. I'm so curious. I always want to hear about people's mistakes that they make from lending and really how they navigate that. So I'm so curious about that portion of it.
Yeah. So how much I've raised in just this. This is in the last. Hold on, let me go to the date. So this is in the last 12 months.
Mhm.
We've raised 3.2.
Ooh,
And the 3.2 that we raised is only, this is just single family.
yeah.
This is not the multifamily space stuff.
And that 3.2 are those that like soft commitments or the money was raised and deployed?
No, over, I want to say, hold on, let me get the number on this. About 60% of that was raised and deployed.
That is good. And I love that you actually know you separate it, because a lot of persons always talk about, I raised this amount of money. Okay.
Oh
How,
yeah.
how much of
So
it did you actually
so
get?
let's talk about lessons, right? This is a great segue. So this first happened when we first had a multifamily deal
Yeah.
that we didn't get because we were like, oh yeah, we can raise this money. We did a great job. We
Mhm.
raised the money. The problem was whenever it's time to be like, hey, we're ready to move forward, you know, where's the money, right? When you get to that stage, in reality, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Life happens,
Yeah.
right? These are people who, they have capital. They say, okay, this is what I'm going to do with it. And then they have a circumstance happen in their family, or they have, X, Y, and Z takes place. And so that changes things. Also, they're also looking or working with other people.
Mhm.
And so, they wanted to get into your deal, but then their cousin Ray Ray came with another opportunity. And it was like, oh, listen, let's go with cousin Ray Ray, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't really hold any bad feelings towards any of that. Like it's just part of the game.
Yeah.
But we had a situation like that where we got a property, getting ready to go into contract. We go around going through the soft commitments, and we thought we had raised I think it was $1 million. We thought we had raised up to $1 million. We really only had like 300K that was ready to go.
Woo!
Right? Eye opening, right? Very, very awkward meetings afterwards. Like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, so this is how it works. So that
Yes.
that changed things, and even now, right? Like, even on the smaller scale, just to for the individuals who are not like doing that quite yet. On the smallest, let's say you're looking to lend EMD,
Mhm.
right? You'll have people who are like, hey, look, I need this money for this particular deal. And you go through the process with them and you boom, all right, cool, let's sign the paperwork. And they're like, oh, I actually got somebody else to come in and fund that deal.
And
And you're
funded.
like,
Yeah.
right, we've already
Mhm.
spent so much time and
Time.
effort. But that is part of the game. How do
Yeah.
you get better from that? Is you got to put in processes and systems so that you don't spend your times turning your wheels and then realize that this isn't going to go anywhere. It's almost
Mhm.
like dating,
Yeah.
right? It's like you go on a date and then you realize this knucklehead wasted my time, right? And now before the next person comes and asks you, and you're like, okay, cool, we can go on a date, but
Mhm.
first tell me about yourself. And
Yeah.
this is okay. What do you
That's it.
got going on,
Ooh.
right?
But the key thing is too, is that will happen to people where they raise the money in soft commitments. Then the person found another deal. Some persons will forget about them.
Yes,
I
yeah,
still keep them in my database and ask, okay, when do you expect that money to come back?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I keep following up. Then I have lenders who would reach out. Even today, a lender reached out to me. I haven't heard from her like since September. And she's like, hey, just letting you know, I still have money out. I'll keep you posted when I get it back.
yeah. That's a great point. But I think you guys do a really, really good job. Like, for, I actually want to stop the whole entire podcast and give like mad love and kudos to you guys.
Thank
You
you.
have I've taken so much from you guys. You guys have been definitely mentors of mine. I like to take game from people who have game. And
Yeah.
I'm never ashamed to say it. You guys have been doing an amazing job. One of the things that I think you guys do that's great is you do a good job staying on top of mind
Mhm.
of your, either going to invest with you or past investors,
Yeah.
right? People who want to do business with you or people who have done business with you, right? And so I know you guys have like a monthly newsletter that comes out.
Yeah.
And I remember I finally got a chance to take a look and I was like, what is this? And I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, these girls, man. Okay. All right. Let me get my pen and paper out. Let me see. Let me try to
You know
figure
what
out.
is insane? So on behalf of myself, of Betzy too, like thank you. Like we appreciate it a ton. Because we found that you always, as you said, always have to be top of mind. But a
Yes.
lot of times that you have, if you go to conferences and hear from different people raising capital, they talk about building your list. And we always think it's only social media, but a lot of times your target audience, they check their emails more than they check Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
So you gotta have their email. Like I would have persons who would send out emails and everything, and then someone out of the blue respond, and we're like, where did this person come from?
Yep. Yep. It's crazy, right?
Man, it's
Crazy how that
insane.
works.
But thank you.
It's a ongoing game, and of course, I mean, you gotta give the Flyers what the Flyers is due. And I know you guys are working extremely hard, and a lot of times people only see a small percentage of what you guys do. So definitely want to give you guys your flowers. Keep going.
Thank you.
I'm honored to just come and hang out with you, just to hang out. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Love
Mama,
it.
I made it. I didn't text my mom like, hey, I'm gonna be on Monday, right? You should check me out.
I made it. I made it.
I made
Hello.
it. Come on.
No, thank you. Appreciate it a ton. But it's always good, like bringing persons on who are actually doing similar things or way better, because as much as we're doing it, we're learning too. And we tell people that all the time, like we're learning from our guests. And that's why we always push, like, ask questions, because we have our outline of questions that we want to ask. But depending on how the conversation goes, like conversation will come in, questions will come in our heads. And we're like, oh, let's ask him this because I want to know more. What is he doing?
Yep. That's
Man,
how it
but
works.
it's insane. Like when you realize that you made those mistakes with borrowing money. First of all, let's get clear. What was the mistake before I ask how you fixed it?
Perfect. So this was when we did one of our first fix and flips. And we was on the borrowing side. Now here's the first mistake. I don't like fix and flips.
Join the club.
Okay. Me personally, I just do not like fix and flips, and I think the reason why is it just takes too long. It's way too many moving parts, and I don't like all of that. Now, my business partner absolutely loves it, so I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. But if I was by myself, I still would have said, okay, let me do a fix and flip, because that's it's like your rite of passage, right? You can't really call yourself an investor
if you have never done a fix and flip.
Don't believe none of that mess. If you don't like fix and flips, don't do them, and definitely don't borrow money to go do something that you don't like. Because when beep hit the fan, and yes, I beat my own self out because I don't want to demonetize my folks. Okay, so when beep hits the fan, you're less motivated to do what needs to be done because you didn't want to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a very, very important part. When we got our first deal, it was a very similar situation that, like, the timelines went off. The buyer that was supposed to buy, who was technically part of the acquisition, just disappeared. They literally went bankrupt. And so we were kind of left holding the bag, but we had lenders who were on this deal like, hey, what's going on? The lesson that I learned from that is, one, if you don't like it, don't do it. But two, you have to get on top of and get in front of the situation. You can't go dark. You can't go, like, communication is the key.
So when you said, wait, let's go back up a little. When you said the bar disappeared, the fix and flip was already completed?
So this particular deal, let me break down how the deal worked out. So this deal, we brought it on the acquisition side.
Okay.
We had a buyer that came in and was like, hey, listen, I'll buy the property from you guys, and all I need you guys to do is to fix it up to this point. So you come in, you fix it up, and I'll buy it. We already had the contract set for them to buy it.
Got it.
Right? They already had funds in escrow for them to purchase the property. The funds that we needed to fix the property up is what we borrowed from a lender.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Now the end buyer goes bankrupt. They never said anything about what the situation is, right? It was just like, hey, we've been trying to call Anthony. What's going on, Anthony? Oh, Anthony doesn't work here no more. Huh? That's odd. Okay, well, who do we talk to? Oh, I think Mike is who you talk to now. Okay, cool. Then the next week, hey, does anybody, have you heard from Mike? We've been trying to reach him. Oh, Mike doesn't work here no more.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like, oh, okay. That's odd. Can we talk to somebody? But yeah, we'll get somebody to reach back out to you. And then this went on for months. Not really months, but it went on for weeks. It took a total of like 2 months until they just came out that, oh, we're going we've filed bankruptcy and there's no more. So now we have this deal that we would have normally not purchased because
If you
the
didn't.
numbers were too tight, but we only purchased it because it was like, oh well, they're already in. They
Mm-hmm.
bought the property,
Yeah.
right? So it's okay. We can buy it at whatever price.
Yeah.
Lesson number one: whatever could go wrong is probably going to go wrong. So always make sure that if everything else goes away, you still
Mm-hmm.
have a solid exit where you're not losing money.
Yeah.
Right? At
Yeah.
least breaking even. But if you definitely make sure you're not losing any money, or definitely make sure you can still sell this and get at a profit. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the situations that we had to deal with. And our lender was like, hey, what's going on? And it took forever for us to kind of figure out a way to do it. And now the funds that we have to use to pay that person back didn't even come from that deal. So you got to be, as a borrower, you have to be willing and able to go above and beyond to
Mm-hmm.
your number one client, which is your lender.
So with this lender, were they? Because I'm trying to break. I want to break this down for the complete for newbies. With this deal, was the lender funding EMD? Well, you did say they fund the
They were
project, but how
funding,
long?
yeah, they were funding the rehab costs.
The rehab cost,
Yeah.
and then what was the loan term for it?
So that it was supposed to be 6 months.
And then what you went over, like how, like just an average.
Did we go over? Is that the question?
Well, no. How long? I want to figure out like how long you went over, and were you paying like late fees or extra interest payments for those?
So it went over 8 months.
Okay, that's not
It
bad.
went over. It went over. No.
Yeah.
It went over 8 months after the 6 month mark.
Ooh.
All right, we
Ooh.
doing the math now.
Whoa.
Right. That's how long it went over, because the property was also locked. It was a bunch. It was a bunch of stuff.
Hold up.
The
So
property ended up getting locked because this company that went bankrupt, essentially they're still part of the property. So we had to get real estate attorneys involved to release the property in order for us to do what we need to do. It was a mess, all because we went into business with somebody who, probably knew the writing was on the wall.
yeah.
And but it
Man,
is what it is.
it's. I was just about to ask, like, if you went to paperwork just to release the contract, but I guess one lesson, I don't know if it would help, for anyone who ever finds themselves in this situation, was to have maybe the end buyer put on an EMD,
Mm-hmm.
if that helps.
Yeah.
So at least I don't know.
So I mean, in a scenario like that, even the EMD coverage wouldn't have been,
Wouldn't still.
you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have been enough. But here's the thing: like that would probably be considered like one of your nightmare type of scenarios, right? Thankfully,
Yeah.
it wasn't my first fix and flip, but definitely it was just like, see, this is why.
First.
This is why.
Listen, I'm in one right now, and not me personally, but I know both persons on, like, the borrower and the lender, but we're all working together. And what
That's it right there.
I want to like dive in. So sorry guys, this episode is gonna go over a little bit over an hour, but persons don't talk about it as much. Is I want to dive into how was that conversation with that lender throughout that entire process.
So that's the key right there. The key is, and that's what I mentioned before, communication is everything in this space. Because if you lose communication, you end up losing trust. And then that's when everything unravels, right? So the conversation, whenever you have to have a difficult conversation with a lender, here's what they expect from you. They expect the truth. They do not expect you to sugarcoat it, and they expect for you to have a plan. Like,
Yes.
okay, this happened. Like right now, when I work with my lenders, so if you would have asked me like, hey, do you wish that deal never happened to you? I would tell you, absolutely. I wish the deal happened the exact same way that it happened. Because now when I have my borrowers who say, hey, I got this deal I need help with, can you find lending for me, et cetera, et cetera. One of the criteria that I ask them for is, hey, can you tell me what happens if your first exit strategy doesn't work? What are you prepared to do?
Boom. And yet people tell me that I am too strict with my criteria, that we need to have two
Oh,
exit
absolutely
strategies. I
not.
was like,
Absolutely
nope,
not. I need to
nope.
know, what are you prepared to do if this strategy that you're trying to accomplish doesn't work?
Yeah.
And how are you prepared to make sure that my lender gets their
Gets
money
their
back?
money back.
Because
Ooh.
that, see, when I present a deal to my lender, I'm actually presenting the bad stuff first.
Man, I feel like we're like,
Yeah, you got to, because I can woo you all day
yep,
long. But just like when we did that role play, if I'm just telling you all the things and that sounds too perfect, what's gonna happen is you're
yeah,
gonna start to say like, I don't know, this seems too good to be true. But if I
yep,
come off the bat, hey, here's the house, here's et cetera, et cetera. Here's where I see there could be a possible situation. Here's where the risk involved in this deal.
yeah.
A, B, C. And if that happens, here's what the borrower is willing to do. A,
A,
B,
B,
C.
C.
Now
Exactly.
let me give you all the sexy stuff that you really wanted to see in the first
That's
place.
it. If you get over that hurdle, everything else is
Oh,
fine.
it's a done deal. You know where I learned that from, though? I learned it from two places: the experience that I had, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned it from Jeff Bezos. I remember
Hmm.
reading his book. Believe it or not, I used to work for Amazon as a logistics specialist, and I
Yeah.
only went to work. I went to work for Amazon as a regular like box handler guy, right? I only went there because I was like, I remember to this day, I ordered something from Amazon. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and 12:30 it came to my house, and I
So
was
fast.
like, how did this happen? And I went online and I did all my research and I could not find how it was happening. And lo and behold, I heard a thing that was like, hey, Amazon's hiring. So I was like, I'm going to go get a job at Amazon so I can see how they do all that they do. And I ended up getting so good at it, I became a logistics specialist for them. But through that, I started researching more about Jeff Bezos. When he was doing his capital raise for
Yeah.
Amazon, he would have lunch, back to back to back lunch with these potential lenders. And the first thing that he would do before the menu came, so the waiter would come, he said, "Can I have 2 waters?" They would go get the waters, and the waiter would come back with the menu. Before the
Mhm.
menu come back, he would tell them, "Hey, listen, I need to borrow $3.6 million, and there's a 90% chance that you could lose at least 70% of it. If you're
Damn.
not okay with that, before the waiter comes back, let me know. We can cancel lunch."
Ooh, straight to the point.
Give the people what you know they want. They want to hear that.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from what could
Don't.
go wrong, how it could go wrong. That's the wrong way to go about it. Discuss what could go wrong. Be upfront with it, and then also discuss, here's what we can do if that
Yeah.
happens,
If
if
that
that happens,
happens.
if that happens. Because your lender isn't stupid. They know life happens. They know real estate is,
That is it.
up and
That
down and
is it. And
etc.
it comes down to matching, like setting that expectation.
Yep.
Now with lenders, I always encourage them. Hey, you need to put, there's gonna be a high chance that the borrower is gonna need a loan extension. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put something in writing for that
Yep.
loan extension. How long are you okay with doing the loan extension? If you reach 3 months, okay, what's the next step? Do you gonna do a deed in lieu and take ownership of the property? Or are you guys gonna revisit the agreement where you get equity split if it's a fix and flip? We draft out all those things in
Mm.
the paperwork. And as long as the lender understands that you have plan A, B, C, if that doesn't happen, you find guys, those type of lenders, the deal moves so smoothly.
Oh yeah.
Those lenders are not like, hey, what's going on? Every single day, they're not on top of you because they know if you don't pay me my money,
They're good.
I already have things in
It's
writing.
already been right now, and everybody's aware. There's no like, oh, I didn't know we were gonna do. No, no. Everybody's on the
Everybody.
same page. Yeah, it's the best way to
Man,
go about it.
listen. Like right before we wrap up, Eddie, what I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to someone, whether they're new or whether they're experienced and looking to borrow someone's money?
Mhm. So I think the best way to go about it is in this market is find yourself someone who's already doing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's very important because I believe we don't do a good job, and that's a lot of it has to do with our school system. Our school system in America has taught you that it's not okay for you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not okay for you to cheat off of somebody's work. These are things that are considered bad in the school system. So when you grow up and you become an adult, you still have the same tendencies. Where in as an entrepreneur, the way that you succeed is by leveraging someone else's experience.
Yeah.
The way that you succeed is by partnering and collaborating with other people and say, hey, listen, you do this part, I do this part. And then
Mm-hmm.
now, even though we're not going to get 100%, but we can split whatever we're going to get. And
Yeah.
now but here's the thing, we both still get 100% of the experience. We both still get 100% of the expertise. The money
Mm-hmm.
part is so small compared to what you're learning and gaining over time that when you become an expert in your own right, now you're getting overpaid for the stuff that you were getting discounted on before.
Before. Yep.
So if I were to give any advice is to partner up, find people that you like. Don't just do research because you become an expert that has no experience, and
Yeah.
that's not worth anything, right? That's like fake gold, right?
Yes.
You want to become an expert that has experience, and you can have experience through partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I use my third party story with you in that example. That's a partner that I have that can teach us how to do X, Y, Z, and etc.
Facts.
It changes the game for you. And in my opinion, that's called putting gasoline on the fire to get you your
Yeah.
goals. If you want to
Man.
set your goals on fire, put gasoline on it. Find yourself somebody that you can connect with.
Can I just imagine there is a fire emoji just
Like
put
just
like
all over,
it's all over.
it just put.
Listen, this has been like so good. I feel like we need to have like part two because
Well, we
we could
got
go
to
on and on.
because
Yeah.
Betsy got to come through,
She gotta
right?
come
Let's,
through.
we,
She
we
gotta
got we
come
got to do
through.
the part two of this.
Man, because we could go on and on about because there were so many other questions I wanted to like dive really deep into, but definitely for part two. But I think this has been really, really good. I know today, guys, we were talking about how Eddie's using private capital to grow his business and then using the funds, using his return to reinvest in different things, right? But we also did something unique that we haven't done in a while. We did a role play. So if you guys missed this episode, just make sure that you go back and you rewatch it. There you can always reach out to Eddie at Eddy Charger. For those who are listening, that's at EDDYCHARGER. Eddie, what's the best way to reach you? Is it Instagram or Facebook?
No, Facebook is the worst.
Okay.
Instagram, I think, is probably the best. You can do Facebook. I'll still catch you on Facebook, YouTube. Everything's the same. EDDY Charger. But if you are looking to like lend or you have questions and stuff like that, you want to go to Instagram, DM me. I'll catch it there first,
Mhm.
or we can set something up and talk offline and etc. If you have a deal that you need lending for, then you can just go to Charger Funds. So CHARGERFUNDS.com. That's chargerfunds.com. And I was talking to these young ladies before. We're doing business together. I actually want to do a deal where we both could lend on the same deal together. So maybe it'd be your deal, right? Maybe
Yeah.
it'd be a deal you bring to the table, and we're like, hey, let's both lend on it and
Yeah.
help this person out. And I think that'd be super, super dope. And then,
Yeah.
what do you think? We can invite the person that we can
Ooh,
invite them on, and we do like a whole,
a whole
case
deep
study
dive
on it.
case.
Yeah, that'd be
Ooh,
pretty dope.
that would be dope. That
Yeah,
would.
I'm with it.
Oh,
So let's do this. If you go to my site and you're looking for funds, make
mhm.
sure you put, because I have a thing that says like who referred you. Make sure you put Money Mondays,
Love it.
because then
Don't
I
forget
know,
that.
okay, perfect. I'll get the details, and then I'll jump back with the ladies, and we'll go through all the different deals that we have and see which one makes sense for us to help.
No, this is amazing. And guys, everything like Eddie's contact information, they are Betzy, I'm learning, you'll be proud. They are in the description, website link, his handle or handles as well, Betzy handle as well in the description. Guys, I really hope that you found a ton of value on today's episode. And again, if you have questions, like feel free to reach out to any one of us. Leave a comment if something's not clear from this week episode. Also remember that you can listen to us on anywhere that you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're available there. And I think a lot of our viewers, listeners, they're listening on Spotify. So shout out to you guys who
Nice.
are on
Shout out to
Spotify, like
Spotify. Hey, it's
tuning
time.
in. It's
Spotify, it's time to cut the
insane.
check, man. Give my girls their check.
Yeah, like I
Stop
thought
playing.
y'all will be listening on Apple Podcasts, but you guys are listening a lot on Spotify. So shout out to our listeners there. So, guys, whether you are looking to finance your next project, launch or expand a new business, we hope that this episode gave you insights, strategies, and tips so you can raise private capital and invest with purpose. We'll see you guys next Monday. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Peace.